Fade to black, Dan. It's on fade to
And I
black.
won't say anything silly.
No, it's on fade to black, you see.
Wow, okay.
I'm going to do a very dramatic fade up.
Brilliant.
Ready?
Yep, I'm so ready.
Check that out. I think we're live. Says we're live.
Hang on, I'm waiting to see the fade to black. Apparently it's happening. I'm so far delayed. It says live. I just see black.
Catherine's just...
All I see is... It's in the darkness. I see his face. Oh, here we go. It's faded up. It's happened. It's faded up to just me. There we go.
Phoebe just wanted to check if he should message you.
And we've done something wrong already.
I won't be able to check any messages, so...
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Oh, I see. If we miss anything.
Yeah,
yes. Tell him to message me. Thanks. Okay. Sorry, everyone. We're doing our pre-production live. This is...
It's a peek behind the curtain.
How's our audio
Welcome to that Total Show VCQ. It's Monday the 8th, I believe.
Oh God, the audio looks loud today, Dan.
Maybe it's just me because I'm in good mood.
Why are you in a good mood? There's no need
I've
for
just
that.
seen Johnny.
Oh right,
from a distance through face cloths. Yeah. So I dropped off my tally, my 65 tally to Johnny, and he's going to fret dress it for me and do a bunch of lovely things. Yes. And it's always lovely to see him.
How is he?
He's amazing, man. He's making a jazz guitar at the moment that he's got on the bench that I went all gooey over. He hasn't made one for about 15 years, but I played the last one he made, and it was one of the best guitars I've ever played.
An arch top.
So beautiful. So I've said maybe if I get on the waiting list now in about 3 years, I might get one.
An arch top, yeah?
Yeah. Beautiful. So there was a company in Germany that he used to use, and they would press these solid tops for him, and they're amazing, but they don't do that anymore. They don't do it in 1s and 2s anymore. So anyway.
So what's he doing? Is he carving it then?
Well, no, he's using the last of his stock.
Right.
And I think he might just have enough stock to make me one. But that would be years down the line. I've waited so long for my acoustic. I just don't know if I can wait that long again for a jazz guitar from him. But I digress.
Yes, indeed. Okay, welcome everybody. Hopefully we're on.
Yes, we're on.
You got
hello and greetings from Belgium, says Bart Hendricks.
Hello, Bart. Nice to hear from you.
And Jake from California. Someone wants to know who's Fex Barry. Fex effects.
Fex Barry. I think there's a T-shirt. Fex Berry. Oh no, add to queue. I didn't want to add to queue. God.
Web creators, did you know that you can?
Right, you shut up. You know how grumpy I get about things, Dan.
I do. What's up?
Nothing. Just YouTube, man. It's. I know it's
in many ways.
I know it's important to us and everything, but
yeah, it's a constant battle. Jack Duxbury says, I feel like one of those super fans that have waited outside the venue all night and have just sprinted to the front of the stage the second the security opened the front doors. Oh, man. Jack, if we do this live thing, I'd love to have you come play keys with us.
Yes.
That would be for no other reason than it would just be so much fun to hang out.
Totally that. If that was taken out of context, one of the plans for our post-COVID life is more live, but one of the shows will be live at 5, hopefully on a Thursday. And then we are hoping to do something a bit more ambitious once a month on a Friday. And for that, we are going to need musicians. And Jack, we really, really, really would love you to be one of those musicians.
Oh, man. It'd be so good. But just any normal gigs as well.
Yes, any of that. Johnny 8, did you know? Oh, did you know? Yeah, okay. Johnny 8, did you know? Amazing channel, chaps. Thanks for all the hard work and efforts you put in. The detail, the time, the care and the honesty. Thanks for saving us all from lockdown. Cheers, John from Didsbury, Manchester.
Ah,
Cheers, John.
thank you, buddy.
It's nice to have some positivity going, isn't it, Daniel?
It is indeed.
Yeah.
It is indeed.
Because I think the, for those of you in the UK, the COVID news is improving a little bit. And I think we've have some reason to be hopeful about getting back to normal.
Yes.
Or something close to it anyway. Cue all the
Reasons
people
to be
going,
cheerful.
It's a conspiracy. It's not happening. Anyway, we had a lot of that last week.
There was a bit.
It's all
indeed.
good. We respect all of your opinions. Michael Crow says, I've got a 62 Ampeg Reverb Rocket that has a pile replacement speaker. Any recommendations for something that's more original spec? The amp is in the shop right now after sitting in someone's basement. I don't know what the original speaker would be in a Reverb Rocket.
No. It's really interesting. I was at a friend's, I saw a friend last week, and he had this really old 15-inch speaker that someone that he bought, and someone had packed it funny. And those, I don't know what it is, what happens to the cone of the speaker, but it goes so brittle and so dry, but it definitely adds something to the sound. Anyway, he got it. This bit of cardboard, it's just an edge of cardboard that had rested on the cone of the speaker, had torn through it.
Huh.
And it's like, it had been fine for 50 years, and then all of a sudden it's not. But yeah, there's something about those old speakers. It does take a lot of wear and tear to get those speakers into that sort of condition where they sound like that.
Yeah.
And the materials are different now. It's really hard replacing old speakers. It is really, really challenging. I've blown up an old Blue, and it's like, man, I don't know. I'm really in two minds what to do about it, because the new ones just don't sound the same. Anyway, I feel your pain.
Yes, I guess check what the original speaker would have been, whether it's a ceramic or an Alnico. Sorry, neither Dan nor I have much knowledge of Ampeg guitar amps, or bass amps for that matter. And
I heard a friend of mine, a great guitar player in Australia called Matt Wakeling. Now, I heard him at a gig using an Ampeg guitar amp once, an old Ampeg, and far out, man, he sounded incredible. Yes, they made some really tasty stuff, but yeah, don't know the speakers, unfortunately.
Yeah, they were really significant, weren't they? Quite a few famous people use them. Yeah, so check out what the original one was. Have a look at people like Jensen,
Fane,
yeah, and I guess Eminence. All the big brands are doing reissues of their older speakers. What's the stuff that Jensen's doing at the moment is really interesting and really cool. Check out Jensen; it might be interesting.
Yeah, totally.
We need
Scotty H. Scotty H says, no question, just a thank you for all the years of inspiring me to play my guitar and sound as good as I can. You guys are simply the best. Thank you, Scott. You legend, you. Really appreciate that, mate. It's very kind. Thank you.
Very kind. Joe Lorga says, if my one-spot power supply is giving me noise, am I really losing anything by not using an isolated power block? Am I losing tone? It sounds fine to me, but the way it is, maybe I don't know what, and then it all goes a bit weird at the end. He's saying his one-spot works fine, nothing wrong with it.
Right.
Is he losing tone?
If your one spot is working fine and all the pedals are getting the proper amount of voltage and you're happy with it, fine. I think you will be surprised in the difference of upgrading your supply and giving everything an isolated thing. I mean, you might not think it's making any noise. I remember when we did
Kirk
Fletcher's board, and he didn't think it was making any noise either. It's I guess it's levels of what you perceive not making any noise. But look, it depends on the rig.
Yeah.
If all you've got is 3 pedals, and they're all working happily daisy chained together. I mean, don't forget, Boss pedals were designed to use daisy chains. Well, not all of them, but certainly some of them. It might be that it works fine, and if that's the case, fantastic. Don't sweat it. But if your board starts to grow, it's certainly one thing that I would be aware of.
Yeah. Once you start adding high current pedals
and digital stuff, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. That's when it makes the difference. Yeah, sure. But yeah, if it's not, if I don't know, I don't even know how you test that other than buying something and comparing it. But
happiness. If you're happy, we're happy.
Right. Let's get into it then. Welcome if you're new. This happens every Monday, 5 p.m. GMT. Dan and I just take questions from the floor. We have super chat turned on, and we prioritise those super chats, which we will turn off early-ish tonight because they get very voluminous, and then we end up going on for hours and hours and hours. Dan, I cannot go on for hours and hours tonight. I'm in the middle of an edit, and I'm really doing well with it.
Awesome.
Yes.
This is this Thursday.
And it takes a while. Yeah, for those of you who've ever been into video editing or audio editing or any kind of editing, there is a certain flow that happens once you get into it, and it takes a little while to sort of settle into that flow, and it takes a while to come out of it. But when you're in it, you can move at great pace and effectiveness. But if you're constantly in and out, it's really tough. So yeah. Anyway, blah blah blah.
I hear you. Like many things.
Like many things, yes. Sir Digby Chicken Caesar is on.
Brilliant.
And Sir Digby Chicken Caesar, are you a member of the Monster Raven Looney Party by any chance? It sounds like you could be and should be. Do they even still exist, the Monster Raven Looney Party?
Yes, I'm sure they do.
Screaming
and the Pearly Queens.
Lord Such died, didn't he? The head guy.
Oh, did he?
I
Okay,
think so.
Well, then maybe they don't. Maybe I've got no idea what I'm talking about.
Their favourite policy of mine was to carpet the M1. Anyway.
Oh, lovely.
Hi guys, says Sir Digby. I've just ordered a Zilla 212. Any speaker suggestions? I'm using a Marshall 18-watt clone. Should it be greenbacks? Thanks for all you do. Peace and love.
If you're using an 18-watt clone, I will get the lowest wattage greenbacks you can possibly get. Like the 20-watt ones.
Yeah.
Greenback and a blue, that's always nice.
Okay, so Dan's suggestion is either very low watt greenbacks or pair a greenback and a Celestian blue, which could be cool. Two things I would suggest: just straight up 25 watt greenbacks, two of them is home. That's
magic sound.
That's where you'll find home. A really nice combination is what Matchless does with a greenback and an H30. So you get a little bit more headroom in the H30 and a bit more efficiency. And then if you think about, so the 18-watt Marshall clone is presumably the one that's got a tube rectifier.
Yes.
Which was based off the kind of 1974 style amp. It also in that lineage is the 2061, which has a solid state rectifier. And that came with, or at least the reissues came with, a 212 loaded with two H30s.
Oh, wow.
That's the cab you've got, Dan. And
right.
It sounds really mega. So
yes. Really, really amazing cab.
And about volume, if you want to play really loud and get the most headroom and all of that, go for the H Magnet 30s.
Yeah.
If you play not quite so loud and you want a bit more speaker color, resonance and all that stuff, go for lower, smaller magnet greenbacks. That tends to be my experience.
Is it the EZ81 rectifier valve for those? I think it is. The GZ34 for the ER34s and the EZ81. And if it's the 20-watt one was when it went solid state. But yes, I've got an 18-watt clone.
The Mallard.
And they're fantastic. Really, really great amplifiers. But the speaker choice for those is crucial. I think, between the...
Typical. I switch to him and then we lose him.
Have you lost me?
Well, in and out.
I can see you perfectly. Oh, okay, am I?
Yeah. People were moaning about the giant Dan cam last week, so I'm going to use it less this week.
Okay, yeah, please.
Sorry,
There's only so much this to go around.
We lost you. You were saying about greenbacks and H30s.
Oh, I just said you can't go wrong.
Yeah.
A combination of either.
Yeah, I'm sure there'll be plenty more opinion in the main chat. Yeah. I like the creambacks. I like the 65-watt creambacks for the Marshall East tones as well. I think they work really well. Right. Guy Nelson, thank you for your generosity, Guy. That's very kind of you. I can't see a question, but maybe there will be one somewhere down the line. Jeff Bonilla, or Bonilla. Hello, Jeff. He says, howdy, gents. I'm struggling with top-of-chain pedal order. I've got a Rangemaster treble booster, a vintage wah fuzz face, and a 29 pedals Una. Thanks for your time. Oh, yeah, I mean, you've got all the problems right there. Dan?
Okay. If it was me, wow. If it's a vintage wah, I don't know if I don't know the bypass state of the wah. If the wah isn't true bypass, it will need to go after the Rangemaster and the fuzz face. If it is true bypass, it can go in front. I like the wah in front.
Yeah, me too.
But so I would probably go if true bypass, wah, then Rangemaster, then fuzz face, and then your buffer.
Yeah, you don't want that buffer in front of, definitely not in front
of those,
of the fuzz face or the Rangemaster.
Yeah.
But of course,
and we know the 29, the unit thing, and it's really interesting that you can put, you've got that buffer and you can switch it in and out. It's a really cool thing. I still think have those three outside that.
Yeah, well, the good news about the Una, of course, is it's got the loop.
Yeah,
you could put the fuzz and the treble booster in the Una's loop, and then when you switch the Una off, it's true bypass, and when you switch the Una on, the buffer's on, and the other two pedals are out the circuit.
But then you can't combine those pedals with anything that's in the, what I mean? Is it the flip? Yeah. So,
yeah. Well, that might be. Yeah. So if you wanted the buffer,
I'd just stick them straight in front.
It's a nightmare. What a nightmare!
It is. It is tricky.
Yeah,
it is tricky.
Yeah, I've actually given up trying to solve the wah and fuzz problem. I just don't use wah anymore. It just does my head in too much. So sometimes the Clyde works, the full tone Clyde, because it's got the variable buffer, and that does help it somewhat.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just oh god, buffers, man. They just sound like hate to me. And yet extremely useful in a live situation. So there we are. Anyway, moving on. Good luck, Jeff, and I'm sorry we couldn't be more helpful. Just out of interest, Dan, Rangemaster before fuzz or after it?
I always put it before it because if I ever use that as a combination,
chocolate biscuit.
I need the Rangemaster first. But regardless, using those together is tricky. As long as so in the Sunline, Analog Man Sunline, the Rangemaster is second.
Is it? That was a question I was going to ask.
But the for me, that's never a usable sound. Fuzz into Rangemaster. However, Rangemaster into fuzz can be a usable sound, but it's really angry. So yeah, I'm always Rangemaster into fuzz and then the rest.
Okay, good luck. And Johnny 8 Dejeuner, did you know? Johnny 8.
Oh, very good.
Again. Sorry for me eating a biscuit, by the way. That probably sounds really horrible through the mic. He says, what are your thoughts on signal path options to integrate always-on volume pedal and compressor into the middle of the chain when using a QMX8? I've got to use up a loop. So what he's saying is he's got an always-on volume pedal and a compressor, and they sit in the middle of his effects chain, but he's using a QMX8.
Yeah, so yes, you would need to have an always on loop. Now, even though yes, you are going to use up a loop. The one good thing with that is it does give you an option to turn that off. You never know. There may be times when...
So you can turn your always-on pedal off.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And just for troubleshooting and stuff like that, it's actually really quite handy. So for a QMX8, yeah, there's no insert points in that, so it is going to be necessary to use a loop.
Crunching again, Dan.
Are you dunking biscuits in tea?
And coffee. I've got tea and coffee on the go.
Excellent. I've got this spicy ginger thing.
Right. How is she?
I may need a break before the end of the show. It's that spicy.
Oh. Is that an
Get things moving.
An Orla Kearley mug as well?
Ah, it's good.
An Orla Kearley mug, Dan?
Sorry, mate.
Orla Kearley mug?
Orla Kearley?
What does it say on the bottom of the mug?
How did you know that? How did you know that?
It's a very famous pattern.
Oh, is it?
Right. Cheers from Northern California, says G. Hello, G Barge. Nice to hear from you, as always. Here's a wee contribution to the Manitoba Travel Fund. We're going to do it. We are going to do it.
Yes.
May that happen soon. Also, shout out to JHS Pedals who delivered my double barrel on Friday. Gorgeous pedal. Also for the Muscle Shoals documentary piece. Yeah, they're doing great work.
They are. Their latest work, which is airing, I think, on the 12th and 13th, they've actually done Pedals the Musical.
Surely inspired by South Park.
I don't know. Josh called me last week, a week before. He's like, I don't know how, but you guys have got to be involved with this. He says, how can we have Pedals the Musical without that pedal show? I'm like, look, dress us up in big pedals and we'll sing some songs. We're in. But yeah, man, where he finds the time to do this stuff. Because it's like, so his wife's a producer.
Right.
Like a really well-known producer. And it's with proper actors and everything.
Awesome.
So it's going to be it's going to be really interesting.
Very good. And on if you haven't seen it yet, watch Tyler Larson, Music Is Win. His I bought a $500,000 Klon video, and Josh is in that too. It's blinking hilarious.
It's so funny.
Yeah,
it is so funny.
It's great. I'm so pleased that all this work is happening, Dan. Enjoy the double barrel, G. A lot of fun there for sure. Loads of fun.
Definitely.
John M. First of all, love all that you do. It's kept me sane over the last few months. What are your thoughts on ISO cabs for recording? Daniel, I believe this is for you.
I've got an ISO cab from Grossman Audio in Germany. Now, I've heard ISO cabs before, which I haven't enjoyed. But when I heard this, and I saw some reviews and stuff online, I thought, that sounds really good. I'm going to give it a shot. And I tell you, it has been fantastic. So I have drilled a little hole in this wall here. My ISO cab sits on the other side. The problem I was having, I'm so used to recording at TPS with mics and amps and stuff, and we just play and everything feels great and sounds great, and, bang, there we go, show's done. When I came to recording songs for my EP, I started using some, IR technology,
IRs.
which is really great. And for a couple of sounds, it's worked really well, but I just really struggled to connect with it. So I thought I'll try the ISO cab thing, and I plugged it in, put the mic on, and seriously, came through the monitors, and the sound was right there. I didn't need to do anything. It was right there. You can hear that ISO cab in the Phrase It Like Gilmore video I did a couple of weeks ago. And it's just, if you want an alternative to IRs, which are wonderful, and we Brebeer and Pete Thorne, those guys use them to great effect. But if you want a mic on cab alternative to that, or a mic on speaker alternative, it's really, really great. A quick thing to remember, the ISO cab is not silent. This one, the one I've got, I think they call it the fat box, it reduces the noise, reduces sound pressure by 30 dB. So you can still hear it, which is why I had to put it in next door. But with it next door, I can have the amps in here pretty loud. No one's complaining. It's all fine. So, yeah. I personally am a massive fan.
There you go. It's a yes from Dan. Right, we're going to turn the super chat off because we're full for this week, I think. So I just need to work out how to do that. Like that. Thank you, BV, for moderating as always.
Yes, thank you, BV.
On the one hand, it's very sad that anyone wants to disrupt these things, but people do. That's the internet, and we are very grateful to BV for moderating as always.
Yes, mate.
So there
Amazing.
we go.
Thank you.
I do believe. Oh no, what's going on?
You can fly.
Brian Garcia will be the last one we answer today, just so you know.
Okay.
Right. I think. Please don't. Oh God. Sorry about this, everyone.
It's all right. Mark Lavinish asked, are there any 3-channel amps that do wet, dry, wet all at once? Seems like that could be fun to work with. Love the show. Thanks for all you do. So, Mark, to make that happen, what you need is 3 separate preamps going into 3 separate power amps going to 3 separate speakers. And I do know of stereo amplifiers. I don't know of amplifiers that have 3 separate power amps. I've never heard of anything like that.
Don't look at me.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so no. If you want to do wet, dry, wet, 3 amps, away you go.
Yeah. Or
which means one more.
Why can't you use a stereo power amp?
You can use a stereo power amp, but he's asking if there's an amplifier that has like a 3-channel amplifier that has 3 built-in built-in power amps.
I see. Yeah, no. No. Talking of power amps, I bought myself a birthday present this week, Dan.
Tell me all about it.
I bought a Audiolab 8000C hi-fi stereo preamp.
Right.
And a quad 306 50-watt aside power amp for my hi-fi at home.
Wow, really?
Yeah, I've always
That's
had
awesome.
fairly cheap integrated amps.
Hang on, when's your birthday?
Next week.
I do this every year. Okay, right. Okay.
It's not yet.
Your birthday's next week.
Next week.
No, I understand, but every year I turn up to the office and you and Catherine are chatting. I'm like, what's up? You said, it was my birthday yesterday, and you always manage to keep it stum.
Yeah. Anyone who's got a few miles on the clock knows they get much less interesting the older you get. Birthdays.
Oh no, come on, it's awesome. All right. Well, just out of interest, what day next week, Mick?
I don't know. It's the 15th, whatever day that is. Yeah.
All right. Okay, cool.
Beware the Ides of March. Anyway, I'm so sick of MP3s. I'm absolutely sick to death of listening to streamed MP3s.
Right.
I was listening to a record the other day. I bought some new headphones because I keep leaving my headphones here, and then when I try and work at home, I've left them here and I can't do the work and I have to drive back and get them, which is really annoying. So I bought an extra set of headphones, and I was comparing how they sound. Same headphones, but I was just seeing how broken in my old ones were.
Right.
And I was listening to a record that I've never listened to in headphones before on a decent system.
Mm.
And I was hearing guitar parts I'd never heard before. I was hearing reverbs I'd never heard before. And it's like, wow, I can't be doing this anymore. So I'm buying cheap, old, British-made hi-fi.
Awesome.
I want to get into some valves, but they're too expensive. So it's old, it was all around the Cambridge area, Huntingdon and Cambridge.
Oh, wow.
Where a lot of this stuff came from.
Awesome.
Not all
okay.
of it, but some of it.
I look forward to hearing that.
Yeah.
After the 12th of April,
Yes.
when we can be seen together.
We can kiss and hug in public again. Actually, no, we can't do that. Jolly Willard. Oh, no, hang on. Plexico. Plexico says, Dan liked my board on Facebook over the weekend. I am now whole again.
Oh, good. If I liked it, it must have been epic. Well done, mate.
Jolly Willard. Hi, Jolly. Good to hear from you. He says, I got a 1980 Tokai Silver Star for a low price. Looks like my dream guitar, but sounds like a second fiddle. Have you got any tips for finding my sound in pickups? I like the 50s wiring pickups in mix Strat Flog. Right, Tokai Silver Star is... Do you know what that is, Dan?
I'm
guessing
I don't know, but I do know
Yeah, it's a Strat.
a lot of people rate those Tokais really high. I'm assuming is it a Gibson copy?
No, it's a Strat copy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, interestingly, I think a lot of Tokais were made at Fujigen, weren't they?
I'm going to say yes with
I don't
confidence.
know. Let's see. Or maybe... Yeah. And there is a shared history with Fender Japan there as well, because that's where Fender Japan ones were made. For anyone who doesn't know, just really, really briefly, Fender went through some really serious corporate changes through the 1970s into the 80s, and by the sort of early mid-80s, Fender was really struggling financially and was going through a management buyout to a point where the Strats of the late 70s and the early 80s were a far cry from what you would regard as a great old Strat, not that we really knew it then. And, well, a couple of things happened. One was a lot of the copy brands started making really, really, really nice Fenders as they should be made, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why they were so popular. And then it took Fender a little while to catch back up again. And Fender, in order to bolster its business and get into that market and be competitive, established Fender Japan. So there is a bit of shared lineage and history there. Anyway, a lot of those copy guitars of the period can be really, really, really great. Like certainly a lot of
definitely.
the Ibanez lawsuit Gibson rip-offs are all often pretty decent. Anyway, so the Tokai you're talking about, I don't know that guitar. They did a breezy sound as well, didn't they? And there was another one that was a Strat style. Anyway, if the guitar itself is good, you know, if the body and neck feels good and you like it to play and you know it resonates nicely, then absolutely it would be a brilliant platform for upgrades. And then you just sort of dip your toe into the bottomless ocean of replacement pickups.
Indeed.
Which you can spend 3 years worrying about, or you can just go with your gut, buy something tried and trusted with which loads of people use. Fender Fat 60s, Fender Fat 50s, pretty much anything from Lola, bare knuckle pickups. And that's not even mentioning all the great stuff that Seymour Duncan and DiMarzio are still doing.
Mm-hmm.
Likelihood is any of those things will be a fair upgrade on what's in there.
Yeah.
From my experience anyway.
Indeed.
But don't stop at the pickups. Do the pots and the wiring and everything else. I would strongly recommend looking at a replacement bridge once you've decided. It depends what kind of bridge is in there. It might be a good steel block bridge already, or it might be one of those cast jobs. But yeah, I'd be potentially a very good platform for upgrades.
Totally. If you're really happy with it acoustically, the way it plays, then you should be able to make it work.
Yeah. As for 50s wiring, it's something that people do in Fenders, but it's more associated with Gibsons. There's lots of people who really love it in Fenders and kind of swear by it. But personally speaking, I just like the straight, traditional 50s and 60s style Fender wiring, albeit with the bridge pickup attached to the tone pot, so you can roll a bit off. And there are people who really hate that as well, so all a matter of opinion. But the good news is you can try it all.
Indeed.
Yeah. Eric Zenhausen. Hello, Eric. He says, you guys are great. Thanks, Eric. He says, just wanted to say I recently joined the TPS Facebook group, and a solid bunch of folks it is. No, this is David Rutledge. I've gone off piece, Dan. David Rutledge says, good morning from Nashville. I just wanted to say I recently joined the TPS Facebook group, and what a solid bunch of folks it is. You have made a great community.
Yeah, it really is very cool.
We're lucky. We're so lucky that the TPS people are kind, considerate, decent people.
Very grateful for that.
Yes.
And we keep a close eye on that too.
We do. We've heard from a few
very important
people outside of that community over the last couple of weeks, and it is a reminder what a place the internet is from time to time. But yeah, thank you. Thanks for the Facebook group as well. I don't do Facebook, so I never look at it, but Dan does, I believe.
Yeah, I pop in there and it's wonderful. And it's really great seeing that, all the stuff that we've talked about and shared over the years, people are now able to, after they've experienced it, they're able to talk about it and share it with other people. It's really great. I love it.
The internet, eh? Back to Eric Zernhausen. Says, you guys are great. Thanks, Eric. Thanks for teaching me about wet dry. I've got a Pro Junior and a Trainer YCV20. Should I choose an AB Baby or a Humdinger for wet dry?
So either one will work. The Humdinger will be on all the time, whereas the AB Baby will be switchable. So that's the only difference. But both will work fine.
Yeah, if you want to switch each amp on and off, AB Baby. If you just want it permanently wet dry, Humdinger. Jacob Van Sura or Cura or Jacob or Jacob Van Sura says, hello. I've recently bought my first Custom Shop 60 Strat that I absolutely adore.
Nice.
I would like to find a friend for this Strat, a 60 Tele or 50 Strat. When buying a used Custom Shop guitar, you may have to make some compromises. What compromises would you be willing to make if necessary?
It's so tricky.
What are your lines in the sand, Dan? What will you not compromise on?
I'm not a fan of Sunburst. So I'd probably find it really hard to buy.
How have we done this show for this long and you now reveal that?
Well, do I own any Sunburst guitars? I got a Lemon Burst, but that's hardly Sunburst. But just for me personally, I've always, I've never really connected with the Sunburst thing.
I don't think I can carry on.
But okay, like a Sunburst Telly. It's different. A Sunburst Les Paul is a very different thing. But like, when I see Sunburst on a Telly, I just think,
wow.
No. Sunburst on a Strat's different again. But wow. So for me, I don't think I'd buy a Sunburst Telly.
So colour is important?
Yeah, colour, you got to be really happy to look at it. So I couldn't buy a guitar that I didn't. If I was going to invest money in a Custom Shop Strat, I'd have to be able to look at it and go, I love the look of that thing.
It's got to be the one.
It's got to be the one, absolutely. The neck shape. I mean, man, sorry, I just couldn't I couldn't compromise on any of it. Don't spend that sort of money on something that you feel compromised on.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. You don't want to be looking at. You don't ever want to look at that guitar and go, "Oh, I wish I'd."
Exactly.
If only.
Be patient. It will come along.
Yeah, it will. I guess the tough thing is, depending on where you live, you might not have access to lots of them, so you may well end up buying one unseen. That's always a bit of a lottery just because they vary so much. But I guess the good news about Custom Shop Fenders is they hold a value pretty well. So buying and selling them, as long as you're smart, you don't need to lose a great deal of money if you're buying and selling them. So obviously you need the cash there in the first place to do that, and it's quite a lot of cash to risk. But it can be a really decent way to try a few and decide what you like.
I would, if you don't live anywhere near it, I mean, my brother and I plan on doing a trip at some point to Nashville or somewhere.
I think Jakob's
and go guitar shopping.
I think Jakob's in the Czech Republic by the looks of things.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I don't know what the, if there must be a retailer somewhere that has some custom shop guitars.
Well, you drive
It's
to
worth
Toman.
a trip to check it out.
I would say. I think isn't Toman near one of the Czech borders anyway?
Right, there you go. Take a trip to Toman. They've got amazing custom shop guitars.
Yeah.
At the very least, if you don't walk away with the guitar, you'll know what you like and what you don't like.
Mm.
There you go.
Yeah. Good luck. If you've got the Strat, get a telly. Luis Enrique Machado says, I've got a harmonious monk. Thank you.
Legend.
I'm loving it. Subtle into 2 amps wet dry, replacing my KT 1968 for that job. Need a 2 harmonious monk last for heavy modulation. How do you plan on running a Univibe wet dry? It's interesting. So I think what you're... Sorry if we've misunderstood you, Lewis, but I think what you're getting at there is when you run a modulation such as a harmonic trem or a Univibe wet dry, it's not as intense an effect as if you've got it into both amps.
Yeah.
So if you've chosen to make your split, before and it's only going into 1 amp, and you really want that churning thing, then if you wanted to add a Univibe as well, just put it before the split so it hits both amps.
Yeah, that's a really good thing. I mean, one thing that you could do is that you could put the Univibe on one side of the split and put the harmonious monk on the other.
Yeah.
And then have them on together.
Yeah. That would be so cool.
And have one on at like quarter notes and one on at triplets.
Yeah.
So you've got this movement.
Super throbby.
Yeah, man.
There you go. That's how we do it. Wet dry, split, harmonious monk one side, Univibe the other. I think that'd be killer. You might get the odd like crazy bass coupling woomph, and you might get the odd complete phase cancellation here and there, but
magic. That's where the magic lies.
Yeah.
This is the way.
Mark Lavinish, hi. Oh no, we've had Mark. Maniacal Lion, hello Maniacal. Cheers and good day. Well, good day to you, sir.
Cheers and good day to you, sir.
I'm going to catch the replay today. I'm off to pick up the very first electric from the Luthier. Finally got it. Got the love he deserves. Also, just ordered a Timmy version 3 early 32nd birthday present. Well, happy birthday.
Happy birthday, mate.
My very first electric. Does that mean you haven't had an electric guitar before, or does that mean your first electric guitar that you've ever owned is having some work done on it? Finally got it the love he deserves. Yes, okay. So it's your first guitar and you've sent it to someone for some work. Well, we hope it's good.
Indeed.
Mick, try a Moulon Strat style if you can. You won't believe how much they feel and sound like a real vintage Strat. Cheers, says Stephen Wilson. Thanks, Stephen. I do believe I've played a Moulon or 2 in my time. I've played most things as it goes. And however much of it is psychosomatic and however much of it is real, I don't know. But I've never played a guitar yet, a new guitar that is really like an old guitar. Closest I've come, I think, is a Collings guitar. I think they do old pretty well, but even then, when you actually do pick up the old thing next to it, it's a whole different ball game, and not necessarily better either. The 61 Strat that I've got on loan. I was trying to do some recording yesterday, and there was just an intonation thing that I could not fix. So I picked up Blue and played that instead, and it got the job done, and it was much more effective for that job. So it's never all roses with old guitars.
No, indeed. I took my 65 Telly to Johnny today, and trying to get a little bit more relief in the neck.
Yeah. Because
it's dead flat.
Yeah.
And that guitar. So Johnny said this guitar's had a real life.
Yeah.
I don't really know the history of the guitar. I'd love to find out, but it's been played so much that where the top of the fingerboard has been rounded over. Huh. And where someone's had their thumb, and so it's Johnny's saying, you can see where they've gone into to sort of sort this out with a bit of wear's bin, and which is making a refret really challenging.
Right.
So because it's not a dead C or D or whatever you call it. There's a bit of edge to it like that. So not that, a bit of that.
Yeah.
That's making that really tricky. But so he's going to. There's a lot of frets left there, so he's going to do a dress and try and have a look at gently warming it and try and get a bit more relief for the neck. But old guitars come with old guitar problems.
Old problems, yeah. Yeah. Also,
but they're wonderful. That's what makes them special.
It rightly or wrongly, I also, I've just got this mental block against anything that isn't the original brand. I just don't feel right with copies of things. And I'm not saying that anyone else should feel that way because you play the guitar that you love most, but I just have a real mental block on it. Mm-hmm. And it means a lot to me, that heritage of that company and what it means and what it did for rock and roll. And, even though it's owned by a corporation these days, it's not really the same thing. But the brand means something to me.
Of course. And in your very own way, you become part of that story.
Yeah, me, Hendrix, and Stevie Ray Vaughan.
but you know what I mean. It's like they've now they're making 1 million guitars a month or whatever.
Yeah,
and it's like this brand that started making guitars in a shed or whatever is now you've got one in your hands, and I love that.
Yeah,
I love
me too.
That.
I still am. I'm in the middle of making a vlog that will go out on Thursday, and I just mentioned that my mum and dad bought me my first Strat when I was 14, and I'm looking at it there. It's hung up on the wall, and I still feel some of that excitement. Like when Simon loaned me the 61, I stood it in the bedroom so when I woke up I could see it. Honestly, I still wake up thinking about Strats. It's totally true. So and everyone will have it about some kind of gear or something in their lives. When you've got it like that, if it says something else on the headstock, it's not there for me.
Yeah, I hear you.
Which is not right, not wrong. It's just a purely personal opinion. So anyway, yes. Bruce. Hello, Bruce.
Hey, Bruce.
He says, I met a chocolate Labrador called Bruce this week.
Legend.
Yeah, he slobbered all over me and then did a turd right outside the front door. It was great. I was like, cheers, Bruce. So hopefully this isn't you, Bruce. Anyway, he says, greetings. I like to use modern voice pickups in my Les Pauls for the most part. For example, bare knuckle Rebel yells. What is your take on using modern wiring versus 50s wiring for those style of pickups? I'm guessing the Rebel Yell is the Steve Stevens set, is it?
Yes. That's a fairly safe bet.
Yeah.
Comes with a little laser gun shooter thing.
The ray gun. Is he? I've had the great pleasure of meeting Steve Stevens a couple of times, and he showed me the ray gun thing.
Oh man,
it's so cool.
It's brilliant.
It's
amazing.
What have we got there then? Let's have a look at the specs.
Do you know the story how he came up with that?
Yeah, I think I wrote the story in an interview once. I can't remember what it was. Okay. What was it?
No, I don't know. I'd love to know.
It was one. I think it was his kid's toy or something. I can't remember. Someone will put it in the comments. Right, 43 gauge plain enamel wire, so it is plenty of mid-range punch from the nail bomb pickup, but tighter bass. Yeah, so it's It's a high output pickup, but it's kind of harmonically rich and all of that. Yeah, I'm really sorry to say, Bruce, neither Dan nor I really have any experience of pickups like that. Only to say that what 50s wiring delivers is more usable range and a bit more brightness when you turn the volumes and tones down a bit. So if that sounds like something you might want to benefit from, then that would be good. Am I right in saying, Dan, that with all the pots on 10, it makes negligible difference?
I mean, it shouldn't make any difference at all.
Yeah, we're always careful
But
about
I've heard
saying
that
it
before.
makes no difference. It makes a negligible difference.
That's a much better way of saying it, I think.
So if you spend most of your life with everything on 10 as you should, sorry, I said that purely to annoy people. If you spend most of your life with everything on 10, it doesn't really matter. If you find that without 50s wiring you're turning down and the guitar gets a bit muddy and you'd like to retain a bit more control and brightness and all of that, then 50s wiring could well be worth trying. Is that fair?
That's very fair.
But at the same time, it's not something that me and Dan have got any experience of, so don't take our word for it.
Might be an interesting vlog to do and take some measurements and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
Yep. Brad, I'm looking for a full feature analog delay. Analog Man ARDX20 versus the Jam Delay Llama Extreme. Or something that hasn't been featured on the show.
Okay. The answer is both of those. The Analog Man is divine. Absolutely divine. However, you need to pair that with the Amazio.
You have to have the Amazio.
Yeah, otherwise it doesn't have that magic modulation, whereas the Jam pedals does have incredible modulation and presets and that stuff.
And a load
the Amazio gives you the ability to do presets and things.
Yeah. But Delay Llama Extreme will do a lot more than the ARDX20 in terms of crazy sounds. It'll do like pitched repeats and all of that.
Yeah.
Is it all done with control voltages, Dan? Do you know, in the Delay Llama?
Yes, all done with control voltages.
So it is properly...
It's the same thing in the Analog Man.
So it is properly analog. And then you get
completely
into
100% analog.
Other territory. Whenever we talk about analog delay, somebody always says Dodd Rubberneck. Now, I don't know if the Dodd Rubberneck is still available, or indeed if it's fully analog.
I think it is analog.
People always talk about it.
Yeah, I went and had a couple of demos. It does seem a bit noisy.
Yeah.
But analog delays can be. I think we need to buy the bullet and maybe buy one and try it out.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it looks cool. So yeah, Dodd Rubberneck, ARDX20, Jam Delay Llama Extreme, like you say. The other one, which isn't fully analog but kind of sounds it, is the Diamond Pedals one.
Yeah, what a great sounding thing that is. The Memory Lane Junior.
Yeah.
So the original Memory Lane was their take on like a Memory Man type thing, and it was a magic pedal. But they had all the original Panasonic chips and stuff. Everything was, proper big through-hole components and stuff. They did the most incredible job with that delay. And then, of course, they ran out of them real quick. You can't get those components for love nor money anymore. So they created the Memory Lane Junior 2, which is the digital version of that. And it's just, they've nailed it.
Yeah.
Absolutely nailed it.
It's really good.
It's a delay we kept going to in shows because it sounded so good.
So there's, in addition to the two you mentioned, there's another two to check out. Patrick Pierce. Hi, Patrick. He says, hello from North Carolina. Thanks for all you do to keep us sane in an insane world. Any recommendations for an amp to pair with a Mesa Mark V for a wet-dry setup? Well, good news, Patrick, is that Mark V is so phenomenally versatile that you could probably pair anything with it. As always with wet-dry amps, Dan and I always say, try and look for something that has a similar kind of basic gain and headroom ratio. So some people really like to run a really crazy clean amp and a really heavily distorted one. Some people really love that. It's not something that we find very easy to deal with because the transient attack through those two amps is so wildly different. So it does help if the amps are sort of breaking up a little bit. In the vlog on Thursday, you will be able to see these two amps behind me. Fender Hot Rod Deluxe, Supro Black Magic, and I'm here playing, stepping on pedals and stuff, watching the VU meter, the level meters in Logic go up and down. And lo and behold, step on the clon into the Hot Rod Deluxe, and the meter shoots up miles. Into the Supro,
Right.
it stays the same.
Oh, wow.
So that's what happens. As it happens, it's not too much of a big problem because they're not a million miles apart.
Right.
But if you had a Hot Rod Deluxe and your Mark V on the heaviest lead channel, for example, step on an overdrive pedal, the Hot Rod Deluxe is going to get 3 times louder, and the Mark V won't get any louder. Sorry, I probably explained too much about that.
Yeah. Great. Perfect.
Anything to add, Dan?
No, the only thing to add is if you're using the gain from the channels of the amplifier, you need to approach it differently.
Yeah.
You will need a split from your effects loop, and then, make sure the signal going out's pedal level and then into a power amp. But that's a different thing. Like standard wet dry, exactly that. Makes the amps a similar gain range. Happy days. The other thing,
Actually, that's
if
a
you
cool way
are
to do
using
it.
different channels and you're going wet dry, one thing to remember is those channels aren't necessarily in phase with each other. So you might have a 3-channel amplifier,
Yeah.
and one of those channels, you might have a clean channel, might go to your dirty channel, and then your solid channel. Your dirty channel might be a different phase than your clean channel. So that's tricky. So the only real way to get through that is to use the preamp as your split after the preamp. So all your drive pedals into the preamp, and then split from the effects send. And then one signal goes back into the effects return, one signal goes into your wet effects, and then that goes into a power amp, into a separate speaker, or into the effects return of another Mesa.
That's a great way to do it. That's how Andy Timmins does it, right?
Yep, exactly that.
Mesa used to make a product called the Simul Satellite, which
Yes.
in the days before YouTube idiots were talking about wet dry, hello, and actually, proper wet dry and wet dry wet existed in the world of racks and pro touring things. Mesa came up with this thing called a Simul Satellite, which was designed to be run in exactly the way Dan is just talking about. So essentially what you're doing is let's just recap this, Dan. Tell me if I've got it right. You go drive pedals into the front of the amp.
Yes.
Into your Mark V. Out of the effects send.
Yes.
And do the split there.
Yes.
One side comes back into your effects return.
Yes.
And the other one goes out through all your wet effects.
Yes.
Into another amplifier.
Into a power amp, into a speaker, so into an effects return.
I mean, you could do it. You could get away with it into just a very clean amp. Wouldn't be great, but it would work.
Yeah, I don't like that. It does work. Okay, let me
hang on.
If you've got something like a high watt, or something like a twin with crazy headroom on the front end, fine.
The other thing you could do is hit the effects loop return of a Hot Rod Deluxe.
Exactly.
Yeah. Sorry, when you said power amp, I was thinking like rack mount power amp, but you just mean effects loop return.
Effects loop return on something else.
Yeah. Just be aware that in the Hot Rod Deluxe, the volume will be on 10. It's an arresting experience the first time you do it. Serial Frost. Hello, Serial. He says, or they say, you both have helped me grow massively as a musician and give me so much inspiration and greatly helped my mental health.
That's amazing.
Massive thank you to you both. Thanks for sharing your story, Mick. Pedal on.
Pedal on, dude.
Cheers, Serial. And all the best to you, with everything, one day at a time. David Aushtaloni. Aushtaloni. What a cool name. Super chat there from you, but no questions, so maybe we'll find that in due course, David. Thank you. Jürgen Burker again. And Jürgen, please tell us if we're saying Burker right. It might be Boke. Hi, guys. Enjoying the evening, he says. Thank you. Nina Head DJ again. It's nice we've got a little community here, returning each week, Daniel.
I love it. So good.
Hello from Astoria, Oregon. I'm just about to order a G3 Atom.
Legend.
Nice. And I'm stoked. You won't like the next question, Dan, bearing in mind our conversation today. Any news on the app?
Ah, man. Yes, so just quickly, we were getting all ready to release the app last week, and then Apple released iOS 14 point something, the latest update, and it messed up Bluetooth, not just in our app, but in loads of Bluetooth apps. So Apple are rushing to fix this. We say it's Apple rushing. Apparently there's 14.5, which is a beta update. We're trying to get hold of it. So it's all working. It works amazing. It's brilliant. It's just getting it from the later phones. Phones earlier than the iPhone 10 are fine. But 10, 11, and 12 is where the problems are. So, yeah, we just got to make sure that all works. We are working night and day on it. So it's imminent. It's imminent.
And good luck with your Atom. I was using mine today and yesterday, and very much enjoying it, actually.
Awesome.
I'll let you into a little secret, Dan. Well, not so much a secret. I had to set up some pedal board for wet dry, and I needed to do it quickly, and I needed it just to all work, and I was like, can I face the menus?
Right.
Can I face the menus? So I put my G2 on the board thinking I'm just going to use this because no menus, I can see what's happening, everything's fine. And I thought, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to use my Atom. And I did, and flawless.
Yeah, baby!
I programmed all my presets up out there with no pedals.
Yeah.
And came in here, plugged it all in, and it just worked. Which literally never happens.
That's awesome,
with
mate.
me, anyway.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. Like the whole parallel and stereo thing. Which
unreal.
I thought I was going to really struggle with, but no.
Well done, bud.
So,
That's great. No, I love that. I love that.
Good on you, Nina Head DJ. Hope you enjoyed that. All Things Weatherly says he has a Nobles ODR, a TS5. Wow. TS5. Pigtronics Fat Drive, Ibanez 850 Fuzz, a Timmy, Boss SD1, an Emerson M Drive, Mosky Golden Horse. You've got to pick 4 to go on your board.
What's the TS5?
It was.
Is that a sound tank?
Yeah, I think it's a sound tank tube screamer, isn't it?
Okay, I'm taking that one.
Yeah.
Just because it's a sound tank. I'm taking the Timmy. I'm taking the Nobles. And the Gold Horse Clonny thing.
Yeah, I'm going to go for the Mosky, the Emerson M Drive, the Fuzz, and the Nobles.
Nice.
Yep. Nice. One more question, says Patrick Pierce. I'm in the market for my first semi-hollow guitar. My budget is $1,000 to $1,500. I play everything from hard rock to blues, and I currently have an SG and a Strat. What should I buy?
Telecaster.
Yeah, semi-hollow, thin line.
Thin line. Perfect.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to say check out Eastman guitars.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, good shout.
I think you'll find something pretty decent there, 1,000 to 1,500. Also, check out the new D'Angelicos. D'Angelico brand was acquired a few years back, and they've got a pretty decent range of guitars. There is a range of USA-made Epiphones coming out, I believe.
Also, the Gretches.
Oh, yeah, Gretsch. Totally Gretsch.
Check out the Gretches because they're unreal.
The Electromatic range is fantastic value for money.
Yep.
Yeah. So, obviously, out of all of that, pick the kind of style of guitar you want whether it's like a 335 thing with a center block, or whether it's a casino thing that's fully hollow, or a Gretsch thing that's more than likely fully hollow. Pick something you like the look of.
Definitely.
And you know, that you do that thing, you wake up in the morning and you're like, wow, I wonder how my Gretsch is today. And that'll make you want to play it, and then you'll work out what it does and how it leads you. There you go.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Anvar Shakil. Hello, Anvar. Thank you very much. He says, cheers from Singapore. Hello to Singapore. Love you guys so much.
So I lived in Singapore for a year.
You did?
I did.
No way.
I loved it. I played at the Europa clubs out there in a band. And that was before we went to Beijing for 6 months.
Wow.
But I loved Singapore. I met some dear friends out there that are still my friends to this day. And I had the best time. What an amazing place.
Is it true that chewing gum is illegal in Singapore?
Yes. You have to get on a bus and go over to Malaysia to get, if you want chewing gum. But it certainly was then.
Wow. Yeah.
It is so clean, Mick. It is so clean.
So
You'd love it.
He does have a question, which is, what are your thoughts on hardtail strats?
When my original 64 Strat was stolen, I was desperate. I cancelled a holiday that I booked and took my money and went down to Jackson's Rare Guitars, and the only Strat they had was a hardtail Strat. It was a brown hardtail Strat, and I played it and just couldn't do it.
Couldn't do it.
They have Andy Timmons, however, has got an amazing hardtail Strat that he uses all the time to record with, like the early 60s one. When they can be amazing. I don't have that much experience. That's the only experience I have. And over to you, Nick.
My only experience really is Matt Schofield used to carry one around quite a lot. So he'd have his regular SVL or his 61 Fender. And then he, for ages, had an ash body hardtail Strat, which also had a steel or a metal plate. I don't know if it was steel, probably not steel. Might have been a brass plate. Anyway, a metal plate underneath the bridge pickup, which all you telly fans will know that's what a telly pickup has. So again, whether it was psychosomatic or not, I'm not sure, but he would very often be playing very Albert Collinsy on that guitar.
Wow. Okay, very cool.
And the combination of the hardtail obviously makes it feel different, resonate different, makes string bending feel different for sure. And I guess the ash body and the pickup with the plate on the bottom, you know, a step towards a telly. So that's how I've always thought of hardtail Strats, which may or may not be right. Would be cool to get hold of one for a bit and see. I think it's very different. Put it this way, I think it's very different than just blocking off the vibrato in your regular Strat.
Yeah, it is. Totally is.
Completely different animal in that respect. Yeah. Cool. Go for it. Cody Myers, or Mayers, says, I bought 2 D&M drives last week.
Legend.
One for me and one as a gift. It will be my first drive pedal. Thanks for everything you do. Well, thanks for buying a D&M drive. Blimey.
Amazing. Thank you, mate. That's amazing.
Yeah. And I hope you like it, and I hope whoever is lucky enough to be receiving it likes it too.
What a great gift.
Yeah, how nice. How nice. Andrew Goldthorpe. I've got a Kingtone Duelist, currently powered at 9 volts. I'm thinking of getting a doubler for my gig rig power supply to run it at 18 volts. Is it worth it? I've never actually tried it, so I don't know.
I don't know. Okay. If you have an isolator, you can try 18 volts. You don't need a doubler. There are diagrams on the website to do it. Basically, you're connecting the positive from one set of terminals to the negative of another, and then linking the positive and negative of the other two. So you're connecting those basically voltages in series, giving you 18 volts.
Hand in the bath, finger in the plug socket.
Exactly.
All that stuff?
Yeah, all that stuff.
For God's
but
sake, don't do that.
There's images on the website to do it. Personally, what you'll find is unless if it's not regulated inside, it probably won't make any difference. If it's regulated, it won't make any difference inside. If it isn't, you might find that you've just got to turn the gain up a lot more to get it to break up, because now you've changed the position in which your signal starts to distort. Personally, for me, I've never plugged in a pedal and gone, oh yeah, that sounds better at 18 volts.
No, the only thing
I remember plugging in a compression pedal, thinking that sounds really good at 18 volts. The only reason it sounded good is it wasn't compressing as much.
Yeah. So as Dan alludes, some pedals you just get more headroom. So if you're finding with the dualist that it's super squashy and too small sounding and closed in, you might find that by running it at 18 volts, some of that goes away. I'm with Dan. I've never really enjoyed. I'm trying to think of a pedal that I do like running like that. You know, the Klon's got like ton of headroom anyway, and it takes 9 volts, so it's like it just doesn't need it.
Well, you wouldn't. The Klon, the way that the Klon's powered, it's sending, it's doubling voltages everywhere in the circuit. So it's designed with that in mind. So you wouldn't, if you powered your Klon at 18 volts, you'd probably blow it up.
Yeah. Don't do that. I'm saying that it has enough headroom to not need it in the first place.
Totally.
We found that with the Analog Man chorus is definitely best at 15 volts.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It determines the wave shape in a really beautiful way, or at least the wave intensity in a really beautiful way. So, yeah. So as Dan says, you can try it. If you've got an isolator, you can try it without having to buy anything, then at least you'll know.
Yeah.
Diagrams on the Gig Rig website. Adam Loke, did you guys see Rhett's High Watt video? Would love to see if you can get him on the show in the future. Cheers for all you do.
Haven't seen it. I've been
it.
trying to catch up on some friends' shows recently. I won't give it a look. Yes, I talk to Rhett quite often. He's a really, really lovely guy, lovely player, and would love to have him on the show. So totally. He's great.
It's either us here or him there, us there or him here. We're not doing the.
Is he in
Nashville, isn't he?
Where's
maybe he's not.
Where's Atlanta, Georgia?
Yeah. Oh, is that where he is?
I don't know, but I do know that he appears with.
Says he's based in Atlanta, / Nashville.
Oh, okay.
So yeah,
he commutes.
Yep. We're not big fans of the kind of, despite what we're doing today, not fans of the video interview thing, because you can't hear anything properly. You can't hear guitars. No. You can't get the nuance of what's happening, and so it's like we'll either go there, or if he ever comes to the UK, obviously as an open invitation.
Yeah, totally. Love to. He's great.
Yeah. Morning from Palm Springs, says Eric Siegfried. Hi, Eric.
Living the dream.
What's your favourite drive to stack with a tomato tone? Thanks for all the live streams and keeping us sane.
I tell you what, I've got on my board, I've got my my Kingsley Page, which is after my tomato tone. And I was playing around with some sounds the other day, and I had this beautiful drive sound from the tomato tone. And I thought, I wonder what happens if I do this. And I kicked on my Dirty Mac treble booster into the tomato tone. Oh my word! It was unflipping believable. So for me, my Dirty Mac treble booster into the tomato tone. I've got it set up as a preset, far out, and then that goes into the reverb, but like set it slapback type thing.
Oh, nice,
Mick! It's unbelievable. It's just so good.
Yeah,
It does stack really well, the tomato tone. It stacks beautifully.
It's going to, isn't it? Because we keep saying how fidelitous it is. I don't even know if that's a word.
Fidelitylicious.
Fidelitylicious, yes. So it should stack well with pretty much anything, not least that it is incredibly versatile itself. So depending on how you like to use it, you could potentially stack anything with it. What would I mean, I would, first stop for me would be an octave, because that's one thing it doesn't do. And then, yeah, I mean, if you've got it doing one specific job, so if you've got it doing a clonny job, then you might want to stack another fuzz into it. Or if you've got it doing a fuzzy job, you might want to put a clonny thing after it, or a tube screamer, or a BD2, or whatever those sort of key touch points of overdrive pedal loveliness you like. It stacks well with everything, as he said.
Just unreal. Really, really great.
Yep. Yep. I was hoping we were going to get this question. Tagonist says, not sure if you've seen the video from last week about paid promotion in guitar channels, but I'm curious of your thoughts on the subject. Yes, Dan and I have spoken at great length about it. So for anyone who doesn't know, in the blues, Shane, Australian left-handed Shane in the blues. Shano did a video which also included the Tone King,
Henning Pauly,
Robert, oh God, excuse me for forgetting his name, Baker, and a few others. Let's summarise this. And someone actually called me and Dan out quite heavily and started having a go at us quite heavily in the comments section. And we had quite an interesting backwards and forwards about it. YouTube has a bunch of rules on paid promotion in videos. And in addition to that, depending on where you live in the world, whoever controls things like advertising standards, so in the UK, I believe it's the ASA, the Advertising Standards Agency, have rules on what you are and aren't allowed to do in social media channels. So one of the things about that pedal show is Dan and I have always been adamant that we would never and have never taken any money from any manufacturer to feature any gear. It was really a cornerstone of the whole channel, not because we are against anyone who does that. And again, for those of you who don't know, most YouTube channels are paid by manufacturers to make demos. Nothing wrong with that, because the argument goes that, you know, you're spending your time and money and effort producing a video, therefore, if it's for a manufacturer, they should pay you for it, right? But we don't do that. We have never done that, and we are personally against doing it because we don't really want that dialogue with manufacturers. I don't want that dialogue with manufacturers. We want to be free to use the gear that we want to use and nothing else. And we just want to ask the questions that we find interesting, and that if enough of you lot find it interesting, we'll do it. So, for example, Fender Tone Master. Dan and I didn't really want to make that video. I don't think we didn't have any love for the Fender Tone Master amp, but we wanted to buy a Deluxe Reverb. And if we just bought the Deluxe Reverb, we'd have got a million questions going, why didn't you play it against the Tone Master? And loads of people asked us, why don't you play it against a Tone Master? So we thought, okay, there is an example of maybe something that we don't necessarily want to do, but it's a really interesting question, so let's do it. Right, moving on. We'd always assumed that we were immune from having to be involved in any paid promotion law because we've never accepted any money. We don't have any agreements with anyone. No one sends us stuff to make videos. However, there does seem to be a little bit of a question on whether if somebody sends you something for free, so clearly we get sent stuff for free, and if anyone doesn't realise that, then we need to do a better job of making it obvious. But of course manufacturers send us stuff. Of course they do. We say that in videos, you know, Chase Bliss sent us this, Keeley sent us that. It can be that because you are accepting something of value, that means it is by nature paid promotion. Issue that we have with it is that, well, two issues. One, it's not sent in order for us to make a video. I mean, the manufacturer obviously wants us to make a video, but there's no agreement. We've never had an agreement with anyone that we will make a video. So people send us stuff on spec, and there's never any discussion about whether we're going to make a video or not. So that's the first thing. Secondly, there's a real grey area about whether it is of value because, let's say, well, let's pick something. This was sent free of charge. It's always been my understanding about stuff that gets sent that you use it as long as you want to use it, and then when you stop using it, you either send it back or, in agreement with the manufacturer, you give it to somebody. And quite often Dan and I will pass on a pedal to an artist, or I don't know, we sent Ed O'Brien away with some things, didn't we? And we've given various things, you know, with the blessing of the manufacturer, passed it on. At no point are we going to sell that or get any value from it in terms of monetary value. Can't eat it, can't pay the mortgage with it, can't trade it for anything, because yes, it's here and it's
not ours.
With it forever, but we don't regard it as ours because it's kind of on permanent loan. So have we accepted something of value in order to make a video? And emphatically I would say no, we haven't. But there are a bunch of people out there who will argue very strongly that that's exactly what we're doing, and therefore we need to tick the paid promotion box. And what happens when you tick the paid promotion box is it says, when you watch the video, it says this video contains a paid promotion. And I am really strongly against that, because I think it's a world of difference from a manufacturer coming to you, paying you money and asking you to make a video that uses their information and all the rest of it. So we are kind of looking into it. I want to know exactly where it is legally. But in terms of, have they sent you this to make this video? No.
No, never.
We don't do that. We don't have an agreement with anyone to do that. In fact, if you look on our website, it will say something like, if you want to send us stuff, please be aware that it may never get seen, blah, 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 blah. So, yeah, we're taking it really seriously, and it has caused a lot of discussion at our end because, you know, we feel very passionately about the fact that we don't take money to feature stuff.
Yeah.
Even if you get a discount on something. So my 335, I bought it from Anderton's.
Mm-hmm.
And because I've done some work for Anderton's and Lee is a good mate, he gave me a really good deal on this guitar. So the question is, have I received something of value in order to make videos? Because I've got a discount. Some people would argue that I have. I got two problems with that. One is, it's got nothing to do with Gibson whatsoever.
Yeah.
I've asked Gibson if we can buy guitars before, and they have told us where to go. as politely as possible. I bought it to do Cream gigs. I bought this guitar when we had that run of Cream gigs. But, of course, it's really useful for that pedal show videos because we didn't have a 335, and we like to have a stock of classic guitars to play stuff. So it's a really interesting debate, and I think there's a lot of people who are getting very kind of angry about it. Interestingly, Shane has turned the comments off on the video. I don't quite know why that is. It's obviously caused a lot of discussion across YouTube land.
Yeah. Also, that is different from country to country.
Yes. So in Germany, for example, where Henning was talking about, they're really hot on stuff like that. Canada,
really
I
strict.
believe. I mean, in Britain, they're pretty strict about it, but I think there was a Global Cycling Network, I think, had some videos removed on these basis. So yeah, what I would like to see. So what are we going to do about it? Number one, Dan and I are going to update our disclosure statement, and we're going to, if you didn't already realise that people send us stuff to review, not that we review stuff either, but to feature, then we're going to make that absolutely clear where stuff came from. And then secondly, I would love to see YouTube expand that box.
Right.
So if there was a box that said, is loaned stuff from manufacturers, not necessarily to make this video, I'll happily tick it. But
sure.
I don't want to tick the box that says we've been paid promotion to do this video, because it is just so not what TPS does.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, so there you go.
Yeah.
No doubt it will rage. No doubt the debate will rage, and no doubt people will get very angry about it in the comments, which is what happened over the weekend. So you will excuse me if I don't dive into all of those and get into it all over again. Yeah, I want a legal clarification, and it would be good to hear on YouTube about it. Because I think bluntly, if we are forced into ticking that box, TPS will change fundamentally very quickly, because I'm not ticking it. I'm not being in the paid promotion world.
No.
And of course, the other thing is, we're very much aware that if something gets featured on TPS, it's likely to sell. You know, companies are likely to sell and make money. We're not dumb. Equally, I think the vast majority of people who are watching this aren't dumb either. Why are you watching a gear video? You're watching it to see and hear gear that you're interested in buying. And if there's any suggestion whatsoever that Dan and I are in any way biased whatsoever based on the fact whether we get it for free or whether we buy it, I mean, that it's... Look around you. Look around the stuff that we use and we choose to use. The amount of stuff we say no to, the amount of times we turn down cash because people offer to send us stuff and pay us to feature it. It's not only that. One last thing. Sorry, you can see that this has definitely got my goat a little bit. If somebody sends us something from the US, either to feature or not feature, we also get stung for VAT and import charge on it. So not only can we not get any value from it, we also have to pay to bloody feature it. So, yes. It's an interesting argument.
Yeah. I mean, I saw a Reverb video today, and he's like, I'm just looking at this. It was the light reverb. And he said, oh, you know,
Plasma.
These guys sent me this, and they didn't pay me to feature it. They did send it to me to check out and have a play with. I think because generally we talk about concepts, and we'll use different gear to show these ideas, but you know, we're not saying it's not like a review.
No, we've always said we don't really do reviews, haven't we?
Yeah,
we've never made any claims to objectivity either. Like, I think that what quite rightly, what sits behind a lot of advertising standards rules is if people are being duped into buying stuff. That's what advertising rules are there to protect. The merest suggestion that we would try and dupe anyone into buying anything is just, I mean, that hurts me to my very core. Yes, we want you to buy a D&M drive, we want you to buy a Harmonious Monk, and we've been completely open why that would be. But in general terms, you know, if we get 4 dual overdrive pedals on the board and we go, which one of these do we like best? At no point do we go, this is an objective review and we're going to tell you which one's best, you know, like Witch magazine with vacuum cleaners. We say explicitly, there's no such thing as the best. All there is what you like best. And that, again, is a core, it's a pillar of what TPS stands for. There is no best. There's only what you like the most. So, yeah, it has, it's annoyed me a bit in having to, the sort of presumption of guilt, like we're involved in some sort of deception on the part of people watching this.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just, if we were going to deceive people, Christ, I'd want to be paid better for it. Wouldn't you?
Yeah. Yeah.
I paid, just one tiny example, and this is not a holier than thou thing because that would be inappropriate, but I want to put new pickups in my Gretsch. I got pickup companies lining up to send me pickups, me and Dan pickups, and that might sound self-aggrandizing, but they realise the marketing value, right? Maybe they want our opinion. I paid $500 to TV Jones, full price. Either they've got no idea who we are, so they don't want to offer a discount, or they don't care. Neither of which I really mind. Didn't ask for a discount, just ordered online. And then get an email going, the switch tip won't fit your Gretsch. Would you like us to include one? So I'm like, oh, that's very kind, thank you. No. Another $7 something on a $500 order, which, it's all good.
Yeah. I mean,
So-
I've just bought a set of pickups as well, and I was looking at getting these wide range humbuckers
Oh yeah, because they started making
for
it
this
again.
yeah. And there's this guy in the UK called the Creamery who makes these amazing
Yeah.
reproductions of them, and so I've just gone on and bought a set, and I mean, don't forget that most of the gear. I mean, yes, there's a lot of gear that we've been sent, but a lot of gear is ours. We've had forever.
Yeah, I mean, I started buying gear when I was 14 years old.
Yeah, totally.
So
I, own the gig rig, and I had people sending me stuff to try before you and I even started doing videos.
yeah.
So it's like, okay, what's an example? I became really good friends with Analog Man.
Yeah.
Right? And I was asking him about fuzz pedals, and he built me a fuzz pedal, and I think I got it a bit quicker than normal. Like, I might have got it, instead of waiting 2 months, I might have got it in 6 weeks or something. You know what I mean? I might have.
Yeah.
So now what do I do with that? It is a minefield.
Have you
when you start
accepted
thinking about that
value there?
stuff?
Let us know what you think. If you think we're completely bent and ripping you all off, and you're deceived by that pedal show's opinion on things,
Or not, or just let it.
if we're
I just don't want you reading comments.
No, but I'm genuinely interested to know. I'm also interested to know what the feedback on Shane's video has been, whether they've had a bit of backlash, whether people are generally in agreement. Most important of all, what lies at the heart of this is whether consumers are being mugged off or not. Do you feel like you're being mugged off by TPS? That's my question. Because if you do, I think that would hurt me and Dan to our very core, but we need to know.
Yeah, okay, that's fair.
Yeah. That's what matters at the end of the day.
Yeah.
In the meantime, we are. We're
looking at it. We're going to
explain
be
it.
taking it really seriously, and
We're
we'll
going to
do
explain it
everything
more clearly. Yes.
Yeah.
For anyone who doesn't know. Anyway, thank you for the question, Tagonist, an appropriate name. And yes, no doubt it's a debate that will rage. And it'd be interesting to see if YouTube do step in at any point.
Yeah.
And further clarify would be good. Jeremiah McCann. Nice to hear from you, Jeremiah. He says, my delay gets lost in a wet-dry mix with my overuse of reverb. I put the delay pedal in the dry path and I love it. Any downsides? Do transients matter with the delay pedal since the effect is delayed?
Look, if it's working in your dry path, awesome. I think so. From what you're saying there, you've got reverb on one path and delay on the other. That's great.
Awesome.
Yeah. All that stuff that we talk about is only ever a starting point.
Yeah.
And then experiment. And if you found that works for you, I'm delighted.
We should have called it dual mono right from the start, shouldn't we? Dan and I termed it wet dry, which is technically incorrect, as Mason likes to point out. So if you think about it in terms of dual mono rather than wet dry, so you've just got two loads of different stuff going to 2 amps, I think that might help you, or might help everybody think a bit more openly about it. But yeah, how cool is that? I know when we did the guitar show back in March, and I was all fizzy about my tape echo at that point, I was running all the wet stuff into 1 amp and only the tape echo into the dry amp.
Yeah, with that preamp and everything.
partly for the reason that you say, Jeremiah, because everything else is swamped off with other stuff. It just kept it a bit more, really enabled you to hear that delay. So very nice. Matt Lloyd, hello, Matt.
Hey, Matt.
Nice to hear from you as always. He says, hi guys, I upgraded an Indonesian Squier telly as you did, and I found that while it improved the overall tone, the difference in wood was something it just couldn't alter. Moreover, it didn't really fix the playability issues, etc.
Yeah. I mean, I hope I showed that on Thursday, that you can, really improve the sound. I think, that the moment when you hear Butters, it's like, okay.
Yeah, that's a guitar.
There's a telly.
Yeah. If anyone hasn't seen it, Dan's video from this week, he put crazy expensive pickups into the very inexpensive guitar, Liv's Squier Telly, and he put Ron Ellis pickups in it, and it was really interesting.
Yeah. Look, those guitars are, if that's what works for you, and like that, with light strings on it, that neck works really well for Liv. It's great. Now I think everyone's asking me what I'm going to end up with. I think I'm going to buy a set of Lollas for it.
Yeah.
And, and replace the pots and things. And so that she's got a good platform to work from. Never heard a bad set of Lollas. So I think it's a safe bet.
Yeah. It's really interesting because if you... The comments on that particular video were fascinating. Matt, you're echoing the kind of thing that, most of the TPS audience would take as read, really, which is, yes, the rest of the guitar really does make a difference. And of course, if you've got a lot of experience with guitars, you tend to know that. But there's this other school of thought that maybe either doesn't have the experience of lots of guitars or just straight doesn't believe it, who believes that, just changing a set of pickups will fundamentally you make it as good a guitar as anything else out there. And it's quite interesting. So if Dan just replaces the pickups in that guitar, we get a load of comments going, well, of course it's not very good, it's just a cheap guitar. Whereas if you change the pickups in an expensive guitar, you get a load of comments that go, well, you could just put those pickups in a Squier Telly and it would sound exactly the same.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
But it's good. It's nice to hear from a different bunch of people. Certainly, different bunch of people watched that video this week.
Yeah, they did, and it's great. It's really good, and it's great to have that conversation.
Yeah,
and to extend that conversation to some other people. It was lovely.
Aaron from Albus Band is on. He says, on what day did God create Spinal Tap, and couldn't he have rested on that day too?
Brilliant.
Happy Bunday, legends. All my love and hope you are. We are. What was it called? Was it called In Vitrio de Milo or something? That record.
Intravenous de Milo.
Intravenous de Milo. I can't write that, can I? Can I say that?
It's just a 2-word review for Shark Sandwich.
Shit sandwich. I can't say that.
That's just nitpicking, isn't it?
Lawrence Koch says, I just wanted to say thanks for all the great info you guys provide. I just finished my pedal board rebuild with a Schmidt Array 525 XDM and learned about them from you guys. Next year, gig rig, PWS, power supply.
Awesome.
Cool. Yeah, can't go wrong with Schmidt Array. Just simply stunning pedal boards. Congratulations on that.
Other pedal boards are available.
They are. Yeah.
Other power supplies are available.
Did we tick the box?
I don't know. It's kind of the BBC.
Yeah. D.W. Monroe says, great episode. Dan, I have some Monty's PAF en route for my PRS McCarty. Loving the pup dates, Mick. We are dogless until June. Well, may June come around quickly. Golden Retriever pup inbound after our 14-year-old Henley passed away in December. I guess.
Well, congratulations on the new pup. Sorry to hear,
Yeah, you just got to be glad for the time you have, haven't you?
Yeah.
Rosie's not here today. She's in doggy daycare today. We're trying.
How's she getting on?
We're not sure. We had some pictures at lunchtime, and she seemed to be having some fun.
Oh, lovely! That's really cool. They do that.
Yeah. So, for those of you who don't know, Rosie was rescued, and unfortunately, Rosie's mother rejected all the pups early, and actually was killed a couple of them. Something went terribly wrong during the birth. So Rosie didn't have a bunch of the early socialization that a lot of puppies get. So thankfully, she's great. She's super happy and good with dogs and good with humans. So she's brilliant with people
She's unreal.
and other
I love
animals. But we feel like she does need some extra socialization. So we're sending her to have some doggy daycare, which also gives us a bit of respite to get some work done. So we'll see. Catherine will know now how she's got on, but
Awesome.
yeah, she's doing great. Vincent Dila says, thank you for everything you do. I have learned a lot from you guys. What would you recommend for a good, inexpensive, clean amp to use with pedals? Cheers from California. I don't know what constitutes inexpensive for you.
Yeah.
But depending on how loud you play, a Fender Hot Rod Deluxe is a fantastic clean platform.
Yep. Yeah, that's really good.
I mean, it's not super affordable, but neither is it tremendously expensive.
I mean, if you don't play loud, if you're looking for something more appropriate for home or small gigs and stuff, an AC-15.
Yep.
They're just fantastic.
Yep.
And the Fender, is it the Blues Deluxe?
Blues Junior.
Blues Junior.
Yeah.
Is that a 12-inch speaker, the Blues Junior?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and that's sort of the equivalent, right? Blues Junior, AC-15.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
people will disagree.
Dan
and I would recommend finding something with a decent size cabinet. Blackstar Artist 15 could be a good shout as well. I don't know how much they are in your locale. There are smaller amps like a Fender Pro Junior, stuff with 10-inch speakers, all really cool, great sounding stuff. But small box with a small speaker, quite often you don't get that sort of extended bass response. To sound
Feel
cool.
the love.
The other amp that's the best-selling amp in Europe is the Boss Katana 50. It's digital modelling amp, but sounds great, and no reason why it can't be a good pedal platform. It's not a valve amp.
If you're going to go down that route, have a look at the Next Tone.
Yeah, it's quite pricey, the Next Tone, I think.
Oh, are they?
Yeah,
okay.
The Katanas are way cheaper, but I mean,
there you go.
If
other apps are available.
I was providing a mate with a really good pedal platform, clean pedal platform, it would be a Hot Rod Deluxe. Just be aware that they are incredibly loud. So if it's just for home, maybe the AC-15 like Dan has suggested, or
Dad.
a Blues Junior.
Did you call me Dad?
Not intentionally.
Awesome.
Ben Keane. Ben, we're going to ask this question of ourselves. Any tips for getting gig fit again? I practiced playing standing up on Saturday. Appalling timing, accuracy, and everything rubbish. Yeah, we feel you.
I posted something on Facebook this week. On Saturday, I was in the lounge room with my daughter, and I put some fresh strings on an old Taylor acoustic. Other acoustics are available, and played a couple of songs. And I played, we played Paranoid Android, and we played Grace. And Liv's an amazing singer. Anyway, played those two songs, really got into them. It was lovely. At the end, I couldn't hold a pencil.
Wow.
With my left hand. It was like, now, I've picked up the guitar every single day in lockdown. What I've not done is play songs all the way through. And I couldn't believe it. I was in pain. There is getting gig fit. The only way to do it, first thing, stand up, get the guitar off your knee, stand up, and start playing through the set. Yeah, it's tricky.
It is
It's
tough.
really, it sneaks up on you. It doesn't take much.
Yeah, I would play along to some records. It's surprising that such a simple thing to do, which maybe we don't do often enough, is actually, like, if I'm learning songs for a set, I usually sit at home with my headphones on and learn the parts, and then I'll come in here with my rig at full volume and put the PA on and play at kind of mean it volume, and everything changes. Literally everything changes.
Your energy changes, the amount of effort it takes to play those songs changes, everything.
And before we, had the luxury of this place, I would go to a rehearsal room and do that, because they'd usually have a PA in there, and maybe one of the other band members, like the bass player or the drummer or whatever. And I found that really helped. Obviously, rehearsal rooms aren't open at the moment, I wouldn't imagine, in a lot of places. But yeah, just play songs all the way through. I totally know what you mean, though. My timing goes to absolute crap if I'm not playing.
Yeah. Well, my timing, it just gets worse. Hey, on another note, I think I've worked out why I love Pat Martino so much.
Go on.
Because he's pushy just like me. He is pushing it, man.
Have I never said that to you?
Hey?
Have I never actually said that to you?
No.
Yeah, I reckon I can hear that in Pat.
Right. So I think I'm like, I think that's why it connects.
Yeah.
I think that's just the way, I'm pushy because I'm just excited.
Yeah.
But Pat does the same thing.
It's really interesting, this, right? For anyone who doesn't know what we're talking about, I can't explain it in musical terms because I don't understand. Actually, I don't understand time very well, but I play very lazy. I tend to play what I would call behind a lot, and it does mean that I struggle a bit when I play rock music because, for me, rock music is on. It's usually on. I mean, it might swing, but it's on. And certainly most prog, a lot of pop music is really on. I like blues music and country music and Americana music, all of which tends to be a little bit behind. It's lazy.
Yeah.
And Dan likes rock and prog and all that music, which tends to be very on. Now, I could be talking cobblers here because there's probably examples of all those other kinds of music that are the other way, but it does kind of define our approaches to the guitar a bit, doesn't it?
Mm. Yeah, it's really interesting.
And I think a lot of the players you like are the on players.
Yeah. I've been trying for so long because I see that, I've always seen that as a fault in my playing. Not being able to do that, but I'm coming to understand it's like, no, actually, I really, there's an urgency in it that I really like.
Yeah.
And I need to be able to, you've got to have a level of control on that stuff. I remember I used to talk to, we'd do Tin Spirit shows and I'd have a chat to Dave Gregory after the gig. And what did he call? He called one of my solos what did he say? Is an exciting, what do you call it? An exciting noise or something like that. Just like,
But Dave's really on as well,
I think I'm just
isn't
coming
he?
to the point where it's like, no, actually, I'm just going to continue learning and getting stuff under my fingers. I'm going to continue working to understand how I can pull back and pull forward. But my natural thing is like, on.
Yeah.
At the very least is on.
Yeah.
As you well know.
It's somebody with musical knowledge or Dan, in fact, probably is able to explain it in terms of timing. I was doing some mixing today for a little bit of music I've done for the video on Thursday. I'm looking at my guitar part, looking at the waveform where I played the bass and I put the bass right on with the bass drum. I'm looking at my guitar and it's like, after all the time.
Wow.
Yeah, like
No,
noticeably.
I'm constantly
Yeah.
forward.
Yeah. Interesting.
Just one quick. Sorry, mate.
Yeah.
Where's Smithiel has just said, Gigrig, is there any ADA DA conversion in Gigrig switch loops? How else could you be able to rearrange the effects? No, Wes, there's absolutely no digital to analog conversion in the loops. We use matrix technology. It's 100% analog. So no, just to clear that up.
Gold relay switching, is it, Dan? Is that
other
what you
switches
call it?
are available.
Is it gold relay switching? Is that what you call it?
There's relay switching in the quartermasters,
Yeah.
and it's matrix switching in G3 and the Atom and G2.
So like
but it's all 100% analog. There's no, yeah,
Keanu Reeves switching.
exactly.
Is that the Matrix?
Yeah,
What was he called? Neo.
Neo.
Neo. Oh yeah, Nero's his
You've been living in a dream world, Neo. Take the blue pill, and you'll see how far down the rabbit hole goes.
The thing I couldn't work out about the Matrix is why would you live in reality?
Good noodles. Oh, in reality?
Yeah.
Oh, no, man.
I'd much rather be in the Matrix.
Ignorance is bliss.
Yeah. Is that the point of the film?
I guess so.
What you actually want is unending pain and suffering. That's what you really want.
And on that note,
roll credits. George Radcliffe says, thanks to TPS, I've learned that blend controls are often a great addition to delay, reverb and modulation pedals. Any thoughts on blending two drive pedals with a wetter box?
Yeah, do it all the time.
Yeah.
But, parallel drives is fantastic.
Such a cool thing.
If you a really cool thing is being able to go from a slightly lower drive rhythm thing and blend in, either mix into a high gain thing or blend a high gain thing on top, and you get those different transients working in parallel, and it's really, really cool. One of the things in G3, because you can do the parallel loop thing, other switches are available, is that you can do, get a couple of overdrives and run them in parallel, and join the backup after, and then change the phase of the parallel line. And Jake at work last week, he's like, first of all, I thought it was cool. I said, but now I use it in every preset.
Wow.
So blending parallels in blending drives in parallel, fantastic.
Nice.
Really good way to find something unique.
Yeah.
Find something that works with your amp, like a unique sound. It's great fun.
Yeah. We often ruminate on what could possibly happen next in drive pedals, and there are drive pedals that have parallel mixing options. I think we'll start to see more of those in coming years.
Yeah.
Maybe. Martin Cable, thank you for your incredible generosity, Martin. That's really kind of you. He says, thanks TPS, especially to Mick for his honesty about mental health. I suspected I was suffering from mild depression, but always thought others suffer with it much worse. Man up. He's helped me see it's okay to reach out for help. You know what, Martin? That strikes a massive chord with me. But I was really nervous about talking about it at all for exactly the reason you say, because I know people who are affected so much worse than me, and I feel very fortunate that I'm not in that situation. But it's not competition, and just because somebody is horrifically debilitated with it, I don't know, they might even get sectioned and have all kinds of really awful trouble with it. It doesn't mean that you're not feeling something real that needs addressing.
Yeah.
Moreover, being aware of it when it's mild is a really great way to stop it getting really bad, or at least to be aware that it's there and to maybe help put the brakes on a bit. So if whatever me and Dan have said have helped you, that is awesome, and I'm incredibly proud of that, to have helped anybody, because it sucks. So yeah, good on you, and I hope I hope being able to see it is helping you move forward with it. So good on you. And thank you. Galogamoth says, if you had an amp set at 90 dB, for example, with all your gain pedals at unity, how much more level could you get from maxing the pot volume on each pedal?
Sorry, say that again.
Let's give it. So you've got your amp and your pedals, everything's set
Yep.
at unity,
Yes.
and you're getting 90 dB.
Yes.
If you crank the volume knob on your pedals, how much volume lift can you get?
It all depends on the headroom of the amplifier.
Yeah, if it was the Hot Rod Deluxe and it was a Klon, I think you'd probably be able to hit 110.
Yeah.
Certainly
there you go.
100.
That's really good. That's a really good example.
Certainly 105. If it was a Marshall Class 5 and you hit it with a fuzz, it may well get quieter.
Yeah, totally. Can't
So
handle the frequencies.
It really depends on how much available headroom the amp's got and the nature of the overdrive. Yeah. But yeah, significant. I mean, massive. You can potentially, at the high watt, for example, if you hit that with Klon, I don't know, something else that's got loads of headroom, you could go from happy, nice, ears don't hurt to get kicked out of the
Damage
band.
City.
Yeah.
Damage Incorporated.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
And
Yeah,
actually,
all depends on the amp.
understanding that is really, I mean, that's everything. That's gain staging.
It is. Yeah.
And when to use it to your advantage, when not to use it. So, for example, if you want a solo boost, then that's what you want. But if you want to sit underneath the vocals with just a more distorted sound, then you don't want that. And yeah, fascinating. That's the thing. That's in fact, that's what entirely goes out the window when I use anything programmable.
Right.
So, like, if I used, if I put a load of presets in, even if it's into G3 or G2, I'll find that those dynamic and volume differences vary entirely depending on how loud I'm playing.
Mm.
Which is why I can't go with anything with deep menus.
Yeah.
Because, first song, you're like, here we are. Oh, quick, little bit more on the tube screamer, a little bit less on the tube screamer, a little bit more on the Klon, a little bit less on the Klon. And by about, the third song, you're kind of there or thereabouts. Whereas menus, just no way.
Yeah.
Can't do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. Mom. Hi, Mom. Mom says, here's the theory, says Mom. If vintage gear and modern gear switch time periods, everyone would be gassing for Chinese-made gear that we consider bad in our reality. Oh my God, I picked up this Joyo overdrive on on eBay for $5,000. It sounds so amazing.
Well, tell you what's interesting. If you think about Mua, who are like one of the first guys out there to do it.
Yeah.
And when Mua first came out, everyone's like poo-pooing it. But now, Mua have a different sort of perception in that area of effects.
Yeah.
People perceive it as being much higher quality and stuff. And they,
Yeah.
I bought and paid for Electric Mistress, which I've been used for ages, and so the
Elect Lady.
Elect Lady, yeah. Yeah, it's really interesting the way that goes. Once Josh did that Behringer video, and then people are looking Behringer pedals differently. It just all depends on what information's out there and stuff.
Don't know how old you are, Mom, but the one thing that we are somewhat aware of is that we've watched it go round a few times. So, let's see. I don't really remember the 70s very well, given that I was born in 74, but I've heard it said that you could pick up 50s and 60s Strats in the late 70s for next to nothing. Famously, that's how Clapton put Blackie together. in the 70s, he used to like buying a bunch of, old Fenders and swapping out the necks and the bodies and making them into something cool. And then why didn't people want them? Because the new guitars were better. And then that kept going around and around and around. Like valve amps have gone away and come back at least twice that I can remember. First when transistor amps came out, it was like, no one needs these crappy old valves anymore. And then modelling comes along and says, no one needs these crappy old valves anymore. And it'll happen again. And it does, it goes around and around. But you know what happens? Every time it goes around, vintage Fenders and Marshalls come out even higher than they were before.
Yeah.
And vintage Fenders and Gibsons come out even higher than they were before that.
That's it.
Because people go, okay, if we're in the idiom of rock and roll, it only exists on the stuff that made it. If you make it on new stuff, it's not the same. And there's nothing wrong with that. Of course there's nothing wrong with that, because that's how music progresses. And please, may it progress so we can just get away from all this crap. But if you're interested in rock and roll, you have to use the right stuff to make it. Otherwise, it's not rock and roll anymore.
Yeah.
And I think that's why it endures, whether it was...
Totally.
When was the big renaissance that I remember was in the 90s. So when the West Coast American bands came along, like Pearl Jam and the Chili's and Soundgarden and Alice in Chains and all those guys. And then Britpop, weirdly enough, which essentially killed all of that. Britpop came along in the mid-90s or early mid-90s. And what were they all using? Old Epiphones and cranked Oranges and Marshalls and...
Yeah.
And pop reinvented itself again.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting to see if that happens again at any point in the future.
Sure. I think the great thing about, one advantage, about the online music thing is that, you can have really niche genres of music and you'll find an audience for it.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of that stuff's being used in different ways. I went to see, not that they're niche, but I went to see the Arctic Monkeys, right, live. They were mind-blowing.
Yeah.
Absolutely mind-blowing. They've had a stage full of Roland Space Echoes and copycats, and everything is analog.
Yeah.
And they just used it in a different way.
Yeah.
And it was just so beautiful. And they had this things like, we've used all this gear, we've recorded with it, and these are the sounds that we connect with, and we're going to use this live. Yeah. They're at a point in their career where they can afford to take the stuff around with them and maintain it on the road. Didn't sound anything like it was used like the sounds they're getting it from in the 60s and 70s when that stuff was designed, but they're just using it in a different way, and it's so beautiful to hear.
Yeah. I guess that's the bottom line, isn't it? At the end of the day, its application is what it is.
Totally.
Are you doing something that you're inspired to do from the heart? Yeah, then maybe it really doesn't matter what gear you use at that point. Maybe. Tim Chalmers. Hello, Tim. Thoughts about repairing a 25-year-old Alvarez Dana electric guitar. It's time for a refret and one tuner knob is wobbly, but the tone is magical. Pickups are incredible. The whole guitar vibrates. Well, if you love the guitar and it sounds great, do it with sympathy. Get somebody who really knows what they're doing. Yeah.
We did a vlog a couple of years ago now where Mick and my red and blue got a refret, and the luthier who I took it to, who I actually saw today, is a magician and an absolute wizard with guitars. Find someone who you trust with that instrument. And totally, if you connected with that guitar, trying to replace it is folly. You might get something that is comparable and is different, but man, get a refret. It's simple repair stuff. Easy.
Don't be scared about having it refretted.
Yeah,
totally. If somebody is, if they know what they're doing and they're a reputable repair person, it will fundamentally improve the guitar. So. Nice. Cool guitar. Actually, for those of you in the UK, there's I think they're called Gardiner Hallgate, maybe. Can't remember what the auction house is called, but there's quite a cool guitar auction that happens every now and again. There's one on March the 10th. There's a few interesting pieces in there, actually, which I may have a look at. Your comment made me think about it, because there's a few old Kramer, like aluminium necks and some other cool stuff. You still on, Dan?
Yeah, mate.
Oh, right.
Sorry,
I thought you'd frozen for a sec there.
No, I'm just...
Jason Carapesi. Hi, Jason. Always good to hear from you. He says, gents, got my Harmonious Monk in January. Excellent packaging, Catherine. We should pass that on. I'm a bit vexed on placement. Amp Logic says it should be last, barring a reverb pedal, but it sounds weird after my Volante. Any thoughts?
It depends. If you're using it in normal tremolo mode, then, after. But if you're using it in harmonic mode, before.
Treat it more like a modulation.
Yep, exactly that.
Yeah. I was doing some recording with mine today, and I think ideally I would run it last. I mean, even harmonic tremolo in an amp would be last, but because I want it wet dry and I want it before the split, I ran it before my delays and reverbs sounded really cool. So
yeah, totally.
As always, well, number one, thank you for buying one. We hope you love it.
Yeah, thanks, Jason.
Number two, if it sounds weird after the Volante, put it before. Yeah. I don't think that's got anything to do with the buffer in the Volante, actually.
The Monk will work absolutely fine with a buffer.
Yeah. Okay.
It's not sensitive to that impedance stuff. It's fine.
David Imrie. Oh, here's one. Defender amps have QC issues. I got a Return 68 custom Deluxe Reverb for $499. Managed to fix it on my channel, he says. Forums suggest issues are widespread. So, when you make as many Fender amps as Fender do, and Fender make more amps than pretty much everybody, apart from maybe Boss and Roland with the... But if you take valve amp manufacturer, Fender's volume of manufacturing is absolutely colossal. So, what happens then? If you've got any manufacturer is going to have a failure rate of anything. So if there's 10 times more amps out there, you get 10 times more failures, potentially. So that's one thing. There was a huge problem for quite a while with the reverb tanks in a lot of Fender amps. And that was the cause of a great many returns. Also, valves. Valves is pretty much the single biggest cause of tube amp failures, which, interestingly, in Fender's case, I think one of the reasons they acquired the groove tubes, I don't know if they actually bought it outright, but they acquired certainly the marketing and various assets. Anyway, I think one of the reasons they did that was because of groove tubes matching capabilities, because if you get your tubes selected and matched better in the first place, chances are they're going to fail less when you install them in amps. Again, for anyone who doesn't know, quite a high percentage of tubes get rejected because they don't meet the necessary requirements. So yeah, I think if you're building amps in huge numbers like that, you are going to get more failures. And aside from that, they are modern, mass-produced things.
Yeah.
The idea of doing something on a circuit board like that should mean that it's more robust, more consistent, and all the rest of it. But I don't suppose you could ever hope that it's going to be as robust as something like, a hand-wired thing that some dude with a beard has sat in a shed and taken 3 years to make. Although,
yeah, baby,
they often break down pretty regularly as well. So, from a manufacturing point of view, Dan, you manufacture things. What do you think?
It's electronics, right? So nothing is ever going to be completely foolproof.
Yeah.
There's a lot of moving parts going on. If it is a problem with design as opposed to manufacture, then that's really tricky. And that's the sort of thing that should have been weeded out in the design testing process. But if it's a problem with, so for example, if you get sometimes, so they'll buy parts in from lots of different manufacturers. Some manufacture switches, some manufacture relays, some manufacture valves, blah blah blah. They'll bring all those in and manufacture them. It might be that the guys who were making the pots in the amplifier, it might be that they had a bad batch, and so there was a consistent problem with that. It might be that there was an issue with the place that does the circuit boards.
Yeah.
You know.
You never know.
And it's really hard to pin that stuff down, and especially because all that stuff is coming from, different places. Generally that stuff is really consistent, but it does happen. It's not an exact science, this stuff. And when you're selling 100 amps, 100 amps a year, it's quite easy to have really good quality. Well, it's a lot simpler to have really good quality control. When you're selling 100,000 amps a year, it's very different. And you've got to get those amps out the door. They'll have really good processes in place, but, it's a different proposition.
Yeah, there's quite a few people actually chiming in. Yuppie has said tubes today are a huge mess. Amp makers only go for the stuff that probably lasts a reasonable amount of time without failing. A lot of truth in that.
Yeah, that's very true.
And modern amps are designed around the tolerances of modern valves as well. So
yes,
that's
exactly
again one of the differences between a modern amp and a vintage amp. E&M, I can speak personally about the issues with shipping tubes. Had to get a couple of new tubes from Victory for my amp. Thankfully, it was just the reverb driver. Yeah, Ian, actually, when I was saying that most failures in modern valve amps is valves, that was direct feedback from Victory. I was pretty close to those guys. Obviously know Martin very well and kind of understand a little bit about their customer service issues. But David, back to the point, if you've got a 68 custom deluxe reverb for 500 quid and you fixed it, I reckon you've done pretty good there.
You've done very well.
Nice
well
one.
done.
Wes Chilton, hi Wes, always good to hear from you. He says, hi guys, I've got 4 drives. What's your favourite order? The R2R treble booster, Hudson Broadcast, Klon, and an OCD version 1.
So the first 2 are right, then put the OCD and then the Klon after that.
I completely agree. I might swap the OCD before the broadcast.
Right.
No, I'm with Dan. Treble booster, broadcast, OCD, Klon.
Done.
Boom.
Start there.
Yeah. Hydroxy socks. Hydrox. What's Hydrox is a anyway. Hydroxy socks says, you recently bought the Deluxe Reverb. What sets the Deluxe Reverb reissue apart from the Tone King Imperial? I've heard
there's a whole video on it.
The Tone King should be very Deluxe Reverb-esque. It is. The huge differentiator.
Oh, the Tone King. Sorry.
The huge differentiator is I believe the Imperial, certainly the Mark II, is definitely 2 channels. So it's got an overdrive channel as well, whereas the Deluxe Reverb only has 1 channel. I think the Mark I's had 2 channels. I don't know that for certain, but certainly our Tone King Imperial Mark II has got 2 channels. So it's got a rhythm channel and a lead channel. The other thing it has is a really, really good attenuator built into it. So the Deluxe Reverb reissue is 1 channel, no attenuator. If you want to get any overdrive out of it, you've got to turn it up. It's a glorious thing, but by golly, is it loud?
Sure is.
The Tone King, you've got an overdrive channel and you can use the attenuator. So it's really, the clean channel is kind of similar, reverb, tremolo, certainly get some very nice Deluxe Reverb tones out of it. But that overdrive channel plus the attenuator really does set it apart into a whole different world of usability, especially at lower volumes.
Yeah.
It's a really great amp, actually, the Imperial.
It's wonderful. Yeah.
Really good.
And I'm really glad I've used that Deluxe in a couple of videos recently.
The Fender.
And the Deluxe Reverb. I'm so glad we got.
Yeah.
It's such a. We should have had that amp years ago.
Yeah. I think I'd quite like to get a hand wired one at this point as well.
Yes, I agree. There you go. Well, there's another AB.
Brian Garcia. Hi, Brian. He says, Dan says, I've got this spicy ginger thing. Mick replies, oh yeah, how is she? I don't think we missed that comment, Mick. Yeah, sorry, Dan didn't hear it. Yeah, sorry about that, everyone. It's a bit inappropriate. But there we are. What are we if we're not inappropriate, Daniel?
Indeed.
Cool. Big T Guitar says, don't tell him about the auctions. That was going through my mind exactly as it was coming out of my mouth. There's one guitar that I saw on their Instagram feed, and I'm like, that's really interesting.
Wow.
I'm not going to tell you what it is. Good. Let's see. Yeah.
We done?
We are. We're done super chats.
Okay.
Jan Man says, how's the master volume on the AC15? Will it sound good at home volume? Yeah, I think it does, actually.
Yeah, surprisingly good.
Yeah. Quite often I end up recommending the master volume ones more than the hand-wired ones for that exact reason.
Yeah.
Because they're just
in that
usable.
context, absolutely, they're great.
The only downside we have with that amp is, I think, and it's probably because we crank it, and probably because it's EL84s, it does go through tubes.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, and certainly, with our bigger amps, Fenders and stuff, 6L6 and 6V6s, the likelihood of them needing new valves is pretty rare. I think we've done the AC15 3 times now. So
yeah,
just something to be aware of.
When it's going, what a great sound.
Yeah. Perilous Temple says, "Oh my God, Mick!" And on International Women's Day. Well, I don't think it was necessarily sexist, but there you go. It might have been. Yeah.
Oh, Ian M says, "I wonder if tubes also suffer from ROHS problems these days." I'm sure they do. So ROSH, otherwise known as removal of hazardous substances, has changed what you can make stuff out of. So used to make lots of components with things like lead and cadmium and arsenic in it, or parts of the components. You can't make components with that things anymore, and it does change stuff.
Yeah.
Photocells, LDRs, there's a lot of components that are not made the same. Now, tubes is really interesting. I don't know the metallurgy, the properties of that, but it's going to be different.
It's apparently a pretty horrific process, isn't it, making valves?
Yeah. Well, there's only 3 factories left. I think as BV points out, I think there's only 3 factories left in the world making them.
Yeah.
And yeah, nasty stuff.
Nasty stuff, yeah.
But so worth it. So worth it.
Patrick Glance, what's your favourite boost to put before a Noble's ODR1? Dan's going to say treble booster.
Yeah.
Mine is going to be the Analog Man Bad Bob.
Yes.
Which is my favourite booster.
Yes.
Full stop.
So good.
Yeah.
So good.
La 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 la. DW, Dan and Mick, what are your thoughts on vintage brown face and blonde amps? Have you owned or played any? Played loads, never owned one.
No, I only ever played some of the reissue ones, and I thought they were great. There's a what's the 3x10 brown face?
Vibrolux?
Yes.
And
played
the Tweed 3x10 was the one that Pete Townsend used, Bandmaster.
The Bandmaster, epic.
Yeah.
But the Vibrolux, just wow, what a sound.
Yeah.
But yes, never owned one.
Joey brought in the non-reverb Super with harmonic trem. That was a spectacular thing. And some of those blonde bassmans just, oh my God, what an amp. What an amp. Yeah, love all that stuff. Regular viewers will know that me and Dan are, even though we don't own very many, massive fans of vintage guitars. I'm a huge fan of the sound of vintage amps, but any that I've had in my possession for any length of time, I'm not a fan of owning them or borrowing them for any length of time. They need maintenance by someone who knows what they're doing.
I love my Vox, and I've modded it a lot to overcome some of those issues. You know, a really good example is that, you know, in 1962, when that amp was made, it was made for the valves that you could buy then.
Yeah.
And so it had like a 50 ohm cathode bias resistor. Well, the valves you get now, if you put that in the power section, that resistor is just going to whip through those valves so quick, which is why modern Voxes have got an 80 ohm cathode resistor. And, you know, that's just one example of why you get through stuff. Electrolytic capacitors, they're not meant to last 50, 60 years. They're just not. So, you know, amps start to get noisy. Filter caps start to go. It's a thing. They do sound amazing. Those old transformers, the old speakers, it all works together. It's a beautiful thing, but it does need...
Yeah.
You got to love it. You got to love it, and love it enough to want to spend time and money on upgrading it.
Yeah.
Or, you know, keeping it going.
Okay, that's us. Let's finish with John Channing. John, nice to hear from you as always. First of all, thanks to everyone for being with us. We realise it's
thanks everyone.
A long chat, but we hope you find
legend.
it interesting and are among friends, because we certainly feel like we're among friends. So thank you.
Yeah, definitely.
John
Thank
says
you.
something I've always wondered: why don't Gibson guitars ever have maple fretboards?
That's a great question.
Yeah, some
I
do.
have seen a Les Paul with a maple fretboard.
They have done maple boards over the years.
Yeah.
I'm gonna speculate. There was massive rivalry between Gibson and Fender, and there still is. If you go to NAMM, you'll find they kind of play practical jokes on one another. And the really weird thing about Gibson and Fender is they think they're in competition with one another.
Right.
Genuinely, they believe they're in competition with one another, which... I don't know, maybe they are, but any guitar player I know loves Gibsons and Fenders.
Of course.
I reckon... So Gibson came from a background of crafted, carved top, serious musicians' instruments.
Yeah.
Along comes Leo Fender and says, no. We'll get this fast-growing wood. We'll roughly mill it out, bolt it together, and put together this utilitarian thing which you can replace parts on. And Gibson were like, oh my God, no! Save us from this heresy. We're not putting any of that crap on our guitars.
Right.
That's my conjecture. I'd be interested to know your opinions.
Very interesting.
Maybe. They did. I think on the much fated Firebird X, I think that might have had a maple fingerboard. And they've done maple mahogany maple sandwiches over the years. Some Les Paul Customs have maple necks. But in terms of fingerboards, and I reckon they probably will have done some ebonized maple over the years where it's maple but made to look like ebony.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Maybe.
Okay.
Again, conjecture.
Interesting.
I wouldn't want to go to court with that assertion.
Yeah, they come from... It's such a different origin story.
Yeah.
You know, and those brands where those roots are so deep. Yeah, it's really interesting. Really, really interesting.
Yeah, I'm just seeing if anyone's come in on that. 5SE7EN Season says it's probably because their inlays don't look very good on light-coloured necks. Yeah, that's a really good point.
Wow, okay.
Get some nice pearloid split parallelograms and looks pretty rubbish on maple.
Maybe.
Good for
Maybe.
Firebird X. Actually, on the
Go with
subject
that.
of split parallelograms, my dear friend Neville Martin, who's lent me that awesome gold top, bought a beautiful Gibson Hummingbird this week.
Really?
Sent me a picture of it. Split parallelograms are so classy.
Yeah, right.
Really made me gas for a 345, actually.
What's on the headstock of that?
On the Hummingbird,
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I get a bit confused with Gibson acoustics, Hummingbirds and Doves. If it's a split parallelogram, maybe it's a bound headstock.
Yeah, I'll have a look.
Yeah, the Hummingbird's on the
very
pick
cool.
guard.
Right.
The Hummingbird part of it's
yeah.
on the pick guard, I think. Anyway, very sexy guitar. Right,
Amazing.
that's enough of this.
Okay. Thanks, everyone. Stay safe. Be excellent to each other.
Indeed, please. And if you can, try and be at least semi-excellent to us. That would be nice this week. Which, of course, you are. Thank you, BV. Thanks so much for moderating.
Yes,
as
thanks,
always.
BV. Legends.
I'll see you on Thursday. Asking how much gear do you really need?
It's wonderful. Wonderful. All right. Thanks, everyone. Have a fantastic week. See you Thursday, then see you on Monday again.
Cheerio.
Bye.